everybody. Andrew Taylor here. We have a special guest, Devon Martin, with us today with National Life Group. What up, man?
It's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we got to tell you why specifically we asked you to come in. One, agents are loving National Life Group. We'll get into all the different reasons why. They're loving IULs. But I recently did a IUL on myself, and I asked a million questions. And then Zach Twardowski was like, bro, you would be the worst client. And I was like, who would be the best person to talk about IULs than the worst client that went down every single non-guarantee scenario and this scenario and that scenario. And I came out liking IULs way more than I ever did. So it was a really good exercise for me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. To start with, if you can introduce yourself, how long you've been with National Life Group, and then we'll get into kind of the company's history.
Yeah, so I've been at the company for almost 10 years now, and I started out in Vermont. That's why I got this nice tan. But I moved to Dallas, Texas about 6 years ago. Been in numerous different departments, landed in the industry, and the company's taken good care of me, and it's been great so far.
And you understand running illustrations. You understand the way these products work.
I do. I had the blessing of doing nothing but designing illustrations for a straight year, and then I went into the sales field after that. So I know it pretty well.
Nice. So later on, if you're watching this, we're going to do, because I want to do one for my kids,
Yep.
And I figured why not have the expert here to design this. So we're going to do that a lot. We're going to design these live today.
I'm ready.
And I'm passionate on doing it for kids because of what it can do with that, 30, 40 years with a low cost of insurance in the very beginning.
Yep, and I like to say you buy life insurance with your health, not your money. So why not get it while you can when you're a kid?
100%. But to start, we were talking about how long National Life Group's been around. Mm-hmm. How many years is it?
So Disney was 100 years last year. We celebrated 175 years of history last year.
Okay, so what has happened? What has happened in the last? Because I can think of like World War I, World War II, the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was telling me that did you guys insure anyone on the Titanic?
We paid out claims because of the Titanic. Yeah.
Okay, so this is crazy. I don't know if you've watched the Titanic recently.
Not recently, but I've seen it.
But on my last birthday, my wife and I went on like a little vacation. We were in the hotel room. I turned on the Titanic. I barely ever cry in movies. And, dude, it made me cry at the end of the movie. I was like, what the heck is going on? That movie's wild. But you guys actually had people with policies on the Titanic.
100%.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let's talk about some other things. So World War I, World War II, the Spanish flu,
mm-hmm.
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What crazy things has the company been through?
Think of all the events. You named the big ones, but here's the thing. When COVID happened, we went from a physical company on a Friday to virtual on Monday. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We put our foot on the gas pedal while other carriers, we couldn't offer after age 75. We couldn't assess the mortality for substandard risk. That Spanish flu wasn't new to us, just like COVID wasn't. So we had record-breaking years, record-breaking sales, and it's because of the history of our company. And one thing we like to pride ourselves on is we're 100% mutual. So every quarter, every year, we're not meeting with people to try to increase our stock or pay our VPs more. The policyholders are the owners of our company as 100% mutual.
Dude, so all these different things, the company's been stable, healthy, paying claims. Have they ever missed a death claim?
As long as we have everything we need to pay the claim, we wouldn't miss a claim. And we paid out almost $100 million in living benefits alone last year.
You're saying like if somebody got a policy and they didn't meet the criteria of what they said on the application, then you would deny a claim.
Correct. There's always a 2-year contestability period, right? But yeah, as long as nobody lied to us, we pay our claims.
So I want to talk about this because I think this is big. So a lot of new agents might not know this, but in the first 2 years, a carrier can contest a policy, which means they wouldn't pay it if you didn't disclose information or answered questions incorrectly on the application.
Correct.
And that's why the underwriting is so important, which we're going to talk about underwriting today.
Yes.
Because, like, dude, you don't want to be the dude that writes an app, you answer the wrong question, and then you don't deliver the death check that the family thinks they're going to get.
Correct. And buyers are liars, right? Like agents are really going to do what their clients tell them. But that's why it's important to take your time on those apps, because paying out claims is why we do what we do.
Yeah, and dig.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy though. I'm just looking at this timeline of all these different things that have happened in the last 175 years.
Game changing.
Yeah. So if a customer said, "Hey, um, is the company going to be around?" Then I can go, "Well, they've been through all these different things."
We understand that yesterday's home runs don't win today's ball games. We're constantly innovating. What's made us successful for the past 175 years won't make us successful for the next 5 years. So we're always coming up with new things, A-rated, constantly getting better, and even a Ferrari needs a tune-up, and we understand that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So before we get into the policy that I got, because I want to share why I got it and kind of what I like, what my concerns were,
Mhm.
what I liked, what I didn't like. I want to talk about why, if you're in the insurance industry, this is a good thing to look at. For one, you guys have a few different products. You have instant approval up to $2 million. And it's not instant approval, but 45% of the time it is.
Correct. 45% of our cases instantly approve, and those that don't doesn't mean blood or urine. The underwriter just needs to look at it. But instant approval means it never even touches an
But
underwriter.
the rates are like incredible, right?
You could get preferred or preferred plus if you qualify, even off of an instant approval.
On $2 million.
Up to $2 million. Depends on the age, but up to $2 million.
Okay. And then there's an agent named Juan Franco who he got me to really start thinking, because I was in the field for 10 years and I went and I saw, we did the math, like 10,000 people face to face.
Yep.
Okay. And I didn't really do a lot of IULs. And I did a couple. I did them here and there. I got into annuities a little bit. But it was because I would look at the guaranteed, now that I understand how to structure them properly, but it was because I would look at the guarantee values and go, is this customer going to call me later?
Yeah.
And are they going to be mad at me? Right?
Right.
So I did that. But Juan Franco, he started doing social media marketing, which is free. So his TikToks, and how old is he? 60?
I'm going to give him a compliment and say he looks 25, but I think he's mid-50s.
Mid-50s?
Yeah.
Okay. So his TikTok's out of control, and he's sharing the way IULs work, getting leads, and issuing a ridiculous amount of business. But the thing is the premiums are higher. So if I were to go see 30 people in a week, he could do the same thing with 2 or 3 customers.
Easily. And I use the analogy, I would rather have 80% of a watermelon instead of 100% of a grape. And Juan understands that. He does less business, could still make more.
But I'm not against doing all of it.
For sure.
I just want to add this in as a tool.
For sure.
Like, I want to help every different category. Final expense, term, but adding IUL.
There's a need for all of it. You never want to take away from what's making you successful, but why not add on?
Yeah. Also, there's different leads now that we have in the Integrity Lead Center, which are designed to someone's answering or responding to an ad that's talking about IULs, and people are having a lot of success with them, but they have to put in why they want it, like what interests them, and it'll be like protecting my estate or whatever it is, and people are calling them, and they have this sentence of why they want it.
Good.
And it's been huge.
Good.
All right. We talked a little bit about this. So and let's get into my personal plan, and we'll talk about I'm going to tell you guys what I liked, and we'll talk about some of the things that I was concerned about. Okay.
All right.
One thing is I realized as I'm trying to, make sure my family's taken care of if something happens to me, I realized that this is a good tool for that. And it could be because you had mentioned in some states it's protected from bankruptcy, litigation,
Divorce.
So it's kind of like a 401k, which is protected in specific situations like that, right?
Yep. You can never legally compare the IUL to a 401k, but there are advantages to the IUL.
For sure. 100%. So there are some protective benefits to the IUL.
Absolutely.
Which I thought was pretty cool. But the main thing was, I was like, are stocks good? Of course, I'm going to buy stocks. Is real estate good? Of course, I'm going to buy real estate.
Right.
But this is another tool that I could use, and why wouldn't I set one of these up in addition to all those things?
Correct.
And I think what bugs me is when people go, this is the end all be all of the best thing on the planet, and you definitely should have that. Like, and this is all you need.
Yeah, you never want to just have one thing. Otherwise, there would just be one thing out there. So, of course, you don't want to oversell it, but you get your money in one of three ways at retirement: taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-free. The IUL is one of very few instruments that allow you to have tax-free money, which is a game changer.
Yeah, so tax-free money. So for estate planning, it's huge. And anybody that has a big estate, I mean, if you're going to be paying estate tax on your estate, this is a tool to offset that.
Absolutely. Life insurance is perfect for that.
And you guys probably have some big customers that do that, right?
We do. We even have an advanced sales team of licensed attorneys free for you guys to access that work through that day in and day out.
Yeah, so I think that was huge. The other thing I was thinking, though, and these are just some of my thoughts after I got through and decided, hey, I like IUL.
Mhm.
You have the life insurance.
Mhm.
Don't forget about the life insurance.
Mhm.
You have the cash value.
Yep.
When I ran my illustration, and we're going to run some today, in year 15, the guarantee value was almost the same amount that I put in.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's kind of like having another bank account,
Mhm.
because the worst case scenario is in year 15, I basically have what I put into it. And that the worst case scenario is not likely to happen.
Correct.
I just like to plan for the worst and go, okay, this thing can actually do way better.
And just to take that a step further, worst case scenario is when you die. So if you pay a month's worth of premium, we're paying out you a big death benefit that's way more than the monthly premium you paid.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the other thing is I don't like payments for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't want a 60-year payment, right?
Correct.
So we designed this thing where it was a 7-year pay. So
Mhm.
you pay on it for 7 years. And really all I was doing was transferring money from Morgan Stanley to this, because to me, I look at it as the cash value is accessible if you have to, kind of like a bank account.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Correct.
You have the coverage. You shouldn't have to touch it, but worst case scenario, if you did, you could access some of it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So I'm like, why don't I have, this is basically what I came to the conclusion of. Why don't I have, instead of money sitting in a bank that I'm saving anyways, why don't I save it here, get the big death benefit, the protection, the living benefits, and just transfer over some money for 7 years?
It's a no-brainer. And the money that you borrow out of the policy still participates in earned interest inside of the policy too, which is huge.
So you obviously, you have interest that you have to pay it back, but it's also still earning interest.
Correct.
Okay. The other thing that I thought was cool is, okay, now I don't know how everybody thinks, but I think a lot of people, they'd like to make sure their family's taken care of if something happens to them, right?
Yep.
And there's a lot of, I like term insurance. I'm a fan of term insurance, but it will expire at some point.
Less than 1% of term policies actually end up paying out the death benefit.
Which is a good sign. That means there's not a high chance of something crazy happening to you.
Correct.
That's actually comforting.
And you can convert your term too, which is even better.
Yeah. But so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to, if I want to enjoy the money that I work hard for, but I still want to make sure I leave something to my family if something happened to me, even way down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, bro, I could spend my wealth and replenish it with this IUL.
Sign me up.
Yeah. It literally takes care of that for you, which is super cool.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So we got the 7-pay where now when I'm recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
I'm recruiting people that, one, like IULs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're customers.
Very common recruiting practice.
Yeah, sometimes they're customers, but also just like people that I'm like, okay, you're already doing well. You could do a couple of these a month, and what could this do for you? And look how cool the product is.
It can change your life. You guys have so many agents that have such success in a short amount of time frame. It's your leads, it's your training, it's everything.
Yeah. Okay, so other than that, I mean, after that, I was like, dude, I'm just moving money from one bucket to another. And how many people don't know they can do that? And how many people save money? Now, I'm also going to talk to a customer and go, if you save money, this is a good tool to do, like a 7-pay.
Yep.
But if you don't, it's a good tool to do, because this should be one of the tools you use to plan for the future.
Correct. And as you said, one of the tools, not the tool, but one of the tools.
One of the tools, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So, with that being said, let's get into designing one so somebody can see.
I love it. All right. So we got Mr. Andrew Taylor here, and this is our website. We'll just get right into it. I always recommend you go from the illustration to the e-app because it saves you about 20 to 30 minutes for each client. You can go from the illustration right into there. It plugs in all the information.
Now, we're going to do I want to do this for my kids.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I also have this other thing that I tell people. If you're an agent, you should have one of these for your kids. One, you can show other people, like, what you did for your kids. Two, people will spend anything for their kids.
Weddings, funerals, and children. People
And
spend
Disneyland.
anything. And Disneyland. Yep.
Like, well, for kids, like, dude, people go spend $2-3 at Disneyland to see their kids smile.
Correct.
And I understand because you would do anything to see your kids smile.
Yep.
So when I'm talking to a customer and I go, hey, did you know you could do this for your kid? And they go, dude, why wouldn't I do that?
The youngest you can be with us is 2 weeks old and out of the hospital. You can get an IUL.
That's legit.
Legit.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to design right now of something I'm going to look at for my kids.
Let's do it. We got a bunch of products. Always do LSW unless you're in the state of New York. And we'll do our Flex Life policy. The name speaks for itself. Very flexible. All right. Give me a name, Andrew.
Atlas Taylor.
Atlas Taylor.
4/28/2020.
Which was the date of birth?
4/28/2020.
4/28/2020. Female, and we're just gonna get
No,
right.
male.
Oh, male.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got
right.
to. Yeah.
Oh, you got two. Yeah.
I got
okay.
two, yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so I like the illustration system because it's user friendly. People tend to overcomplicate it. I'll show you how few of options we're gonna change. So give me a premium amount.
Let's say $5,000 a year.
$5,000 a year. We'll leave it as annual. We'll go ahead and specify a premium for $5,000 a year. And then there's this magic button called minimum death benefit max cash value. Basically, it does exactly what it says. Picture a scale. The less death benefit I have, the more cash value I get. There's a common, I'd say, misconception around level versus increasing. And if I can, I'll just unpack this quickly.
Yeah, I want to
between the
know
two.
because I have always been told to do increasing.
So I'm a fan of using level more oftentimes than not. Here's the exact definition. Level, you just get the death benefit when you die. Increasing, you get both the cash and the death benefit. Since you get both, people think that's always better. But if you forget to level off your increasing death benefit when you're done paying premiums, that death benefit will still increase, which can eat at the cost of insurance.
I got you. But
for children, increasing for sure. For children.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. How long do you want to fund this for, Andrew?
Well, I don't like long payments, so let's say 7 years.
7 years. We're going to do 1-7. And then since we're done paying in 7 years, we want to level off that death benefit year 8. Whenever you use increasing, you want to level it off.
So you can do this so you don't have to call and do it.
You will have to actually call and do this. Yes,
This
that's
is
another
actually
reason why
really
I like level.
important to know.
Very important because people think, yeah, this happens on its own. It does not. We don't want to put a client in a situation where they have to call us because it's flexible, but this does not happen on its own. You'd have to call in.
Okay, so basically, if you're watching this, and as you guys do these on yourselves or your kids or anything, you got to make sure that there's a reminder or the customer knows to call because the coverage will go up, the cost of insurance will go up, and
100%.
the cash value won't perform the same.
Correct. And if you ever run them now, level doesn't give you that much less cash than increasing, and it actually gives you 3-4 times the size of a death benefit starting out. That's why I like level. Again, unless it's for children, you do increasing.
Got it.
So you want to show income coming out of this? You want to just show policy straight growth? What do you want to see?
I want to show. Yeah, let's just show cash value, not income.
Perfect. All right. Go to my quick view screen. If I could have one screen to train agents on, it'd be this quick view screen of the illustration. But I'll just keep it here, and then I'll let you kind of steer us away.
Okay, so explain, what are we looking at here?
So what we're looking at is you gave me a $5,000 a year premium. So I did $5,000, and you'll notice that the most I can put into the policy is $5,000 per year. So we're automatically max funding it. Here's your death benefit, and then you see the cash value grow from there.
And then in year 8, I would have to call.
In this scenario, you would have to call to level off your death benefit.
Can they fix that where you can just be like, yo, turn that off in year 8? 8
So-
years is a long time.
It is, and some people fund these for 40, 50 years. Well, one, that's why I recommend using level. And also, what if your daughter's needs change? What if you don't want to just pay it for 7 years? What if you want to pay for 8, 9, 10?
But can't you call and be like, yo, I decided I want to pay?
You can, but you actually have to call us in 7 years to stop these premiums from paying as well. It doesn't happen on its own.
Got it. So you have to call anyways.
Correct, regardless. Yep.
Well, unless you're sending a check, you just stop sending them checks.
Yeah, we like the checks, but if you stop sending them, we couldn't cash them.
Yeah. Okay. So this for anybody watching every IUL, and it's actually much more simple than it looks. There's, as far as the illustration purposes go, there's a guaranteed side and a non-guaranteed side, right? What are we looking at here?
This one's current. You can change it in your screen, but I wouldn't. I would honestly call the guaranteed rate almost Armageddon. That represents a 0% rate of return every day, every year, and we raise our cost of insurance as high as we legally can, and we have it in 175 years.
I know, but I want to look at Armageddon.
Let's look at Armageddon.
Because if I'm giving this to a customer, I want to know the worst case scenario.
Yep, and you should never sell off of these because that's not why they were designed, but we are going to look at it because clients are going to ask the questions. This one would lapse when she turns... Forgive me, Andrew.
He's going to be mad at you, man.
I know. Don't watch this recording, Atlas. All right, so this one's going to lapse when he turns age 67.
Okay, so worst case scenario. Let's go back. I'm going to put in $24,000. This is Armageddon, and this has never happened.
This has never happened in the history of our company.
But you have to show the guaranteed illustration rate.
We have to legally show it.
So if it made $0 for 60 years, then the policy would lapse.
Correct. And in COVID, we didn't even touch this rate. Think about it. Governments were pumping stimulus checks. We weren't even close to this during COVID. The world would have to be worse than that.
Okay, so go back up to the top real quick. All right, so yeah, if you can make that a little bigger. All right, so 24 grand. Now I want to look at the the guaranteed cash value.
Okay.
On the guaranteed side.
This is showing the guaranteed. This is worst case.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm putting in, how much do I put in on this?
5 times 7.
Okay. So I'm basically I'm putting in 35 grand.
Yep.
And I'm getting, in year 7, I could cash it in for 32 grand.
Correct. So the difference between these two numbers is your surrender charge. This right column is your savings account or your piggy bank. They don't match in the first 10 years because there's a surrender charge, but this surrender value is your actual cash value, your savings account.
Okay, so this is basically what I'm saying. This is what I came up with. This is Armageddon. And like I'm optimistic, but I'm like, okay, what's the worst? I'm always looking at what's the worst case scenario and can I live with it? It's funny. One of my mentors taught me that if you're going to do something, you're going to buy a house or you're going to invest in something, write down the worst case scenario and then say, can you live with it? If the answer is yes, then you do it. If the answer is no, then you don't do it. So I'm going to look at the worst case scenario here. The worst case scenario is in year 7, if it never made any money, there's $31,000 that I could cash in and they can rerun the projection for you, right?
Absolutely.
In year 7. So if it only has 31,000 in that year, you could rerun the projection. But let's say that doesn't even make any sense because in year 18, there's $35,000 still there in cash value. Now, if I want to use this money, I could use this money. I can take a loan and pay it back.
Yep, correct.
So it's kind of like a bank account.
Correct.
If you need it, or you go, hey, I need to do something, or something came up. It's smart to pay it back, right?
It's a good idea too, but you don't have to. But yes,
it's a good idea too early on, though, right?
Correct. All that would happen if you don't is we just deduct it from the death benefit. But yeah, if it's early on, I would recommend trying to pay that loan back.
Okay, because you want that money in there accruing interest.
It's compounding interest.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Okay, so keep going down. Like I really can't lose anything, and this is my own personal opinion, but year 30, I still can't lose anything. Year 32, I still can't lose anything. Okay, so let's say it never made any money. This is the worst case scenario. Atlas is 44 years old. There's still what I put in there, but on top of that, he's had $300,000 of life insurance the entire time. Keep going. Okay, so let's say he's 57. There's a guarantee to have 25 grand still in there. So for 5 grand for 54 years, he had because you could cash it in. He still has that $300,000 death benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
It's at the bottom.
Oh, it's at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay, so basically what happens here when it starts going down, and I want to explain this to people, and this is just my understanding of it,
Yep.
but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, the cost of insurance is going up for us people as we're policyholders as we get older, right?
Correct.
And so that is taking from the cash value to pay the premium.
Correct.
Now, in a perfect world, that cash value is making more interest than the premium, so that continues to grow. But in Armageddon, it doesn't. So it starts to go down and down and down and down and down. And when that cash value hits zero, the policy lapses. You have no coverage.
If you could drop your mic, I'd tell you to. Exactly.
Okay. All right. So this is Armageddon. Can I live with this? Yes, I can live with this. And on top of that, it's a 7-year thing. I'm basically moving money from one account to another. But you could set this up as a monthly payment too.
Absolutely. It's flexible.
Yeah. Now, if I want to keep paying after year 7, can I keep paying?
Absolutely.
And it'll just keep building cash. Well, hypothetically, yes, it will.
Yeah. The more you pay, the longer you pay, the better it is.
Okay. So go back up. And then let's go to the non-guaranteed illustration rate, which is what people show, which this actually does piss me off sometimes because it's like, yo, this isn't guaranteed.
Correct.
But tell me what it is coming from the carrier. Is this the average of the last 20 years? Is this just what you think it's going to be?
So
what is this number?
If I may, I'm going to give some context to this. So National Life Group every quarter, every year is #1 in index universal life sales. There's other carriers, maybe 4 or 5, that illustrate higher than us. What good is showing a higher illustration unless that cash is actually going to improve and actually show what we credit them for? That's why we're #1 from our living benefits, our underwriting, and the projections. To answer your question simply, this is just a 25-year look back, and we take that average interest rate and just show this as the projection side of the illustration. This could do better than what's shown, and with us, we're very conservative, so it potentially could.
But, okay, so we're looking at a 25-year look back, so you can say if in the last 25 years that happens in the next 25 years, then your account's going to look like this.
Correct. The past can't predict the future, but it's a good indicator to use.
Okay. So these numbers, for everybody watching, this is... What's the opposite of Armageddon?
I mean, a bull market, I guess, right?
I mean, what's a really awesome thing that happens?
Whenever you sell an NLG policy,
you're a Chiefs fan, and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Sure, yeah, that's a good scenario.
Yeah, or there's a bunch of stuff, but this is like, okay, everything goes perfect. And it could be better.
That's kind of an understatement because this is just an average rate of what we expect it to do. This could be better, in our history, probably it will if we perform at the rates that we think that we can do.
Okay, so this isn't saying this is the best case scenario. This
Absolutely
is saying
not.
This is just average.
Correct. We are conservatively illustrating this.
Okay, so in this scenario, why does the surrender value lower in the beginning here?
So, I mean, we pay the agent commission. There's certain structures and costs in the policy. So you don't get full access to your money until after 10 years.
Got it. Okay. So I'm putting in $35K. Oh, yeah, this is similar to the other one.
Yep.
But at year 7, there's 37. At year 8, there's 40. At year 12, there's 50. At year 22, there's, what is that, 94?
In year 26, 94. 25,
now,
94.
Is this increasing?
This is increasing, yes.
Now, is this factoring in that I stopped it at age?
It is, because if you look at your death
At 7
benefit,
year?
you'll see it stick at the same after 8th year.
Got it. So it was increasing until that time period.
Correct.
But does it go up as the cash value grows too?
Yeah, your death benefit can never be lower than your cash value. So if I scroll down, you'll see that my death benefit actually increases because it's predicting that the cash is going to grow. It's called corridor, so we bump up your death benefit so it's higher than the cash value.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 140. So if I set this up, I put $35K in 34 years. All right, let's see. In 30 years, there'll be $156,000 in cash value that's protected. It has living benefits. It has a death benefit. If there's and we'll talk about living benefits.
Yes.
He could save money on not having to get this stuff for his family at a later date.
Correct.
Right? And so you're taking care of your grandkids. Hey, people do anything for their kids. What do they do for their grandkids?
They do more for their grandkids.
That, yeah. So, okay. So this is for your grandkids, not your kids when I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
So we got $637,000 death benefit in 37 years. There's $245,000 of cash. I mean, that's the thing. Once I dove into this, and I'm like, if I could illustrate it where Armageddon, the worst case scenario, is not bad, then why can't I mean, who's going to say no to this?
Correct. I have to give you credit. I almost never look at the guaranteed rate, but unpacking this with you, I actually learned something as well. I was impressed with the guaranteed rate.
Well, yeah, because I'm like, dude, we're talking about insurance carriers here. I mean, it's not like everybody just trusts insurance carriers 70 years from now.
Sure.
Should they? I don't know. Probably not. But I'm saying this is the guaranteed illustration.
Worst case
Scenario that you have. This is the contract.
Correct.
So on mine, when I was doing mine, I was like, okay, I could save money, or I could place it here and do all these different things. And then let's dive into the living benefits. And
let's do it.
Unfortunately, man, there's some crazy, scary illnesses, things that happen to people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is true, but somebody was telling me 1 in 3 people get cancer.
Probably true. It's close to the stats I hear.
Oh man. Okay, so, and what I would say here, and this is how I truly feel. Okay, if you're dealing with, if somebody's dealing with a scary health condition, there's a lot of awesome stories where people come out of it. They beat cancer.
Yep.
And it's amazing. But if you're dealing with it and then you also can't pay your bills because your income stops, you don't go to work anymore, because you're dealing with cancer or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what can you do with this policy if that happens?
Yeah, so National Life Group have all living benefits in all states. California, New York, we've had them the longest. We actually paid out a living benefit claim in the 1930s. There's actually an article in our home office that shows that. But I say that to say, other people might say they have them, but look under the hood of the car. We have all the triggers. We pay out claims. We paid out $100 million in living benefit claims alone. That's 100% tax-free money.
Like all of time?
In the year of 2023 alone, we just paid out
1 year,
$100 million. Not death benefit, living benefits alone.
Bro.
Tax-free money, and you don't have to put it towards medical expenses. You can if you want to.
That's what I was going with. It's like, dude, you get sick, you can't pay your bills, you're gonna lose your house, your family's stressed about surviving, and then on top of that, you got to go to these medical treatments and all this other scary stuff. It's like, dude, this to me is you're placing money from a bank
Correct.
that doesn't pay a lot of interest into this policy.
Yep. And here's the thing. It's life insurance, not death insurance. Yes, there's a need for all those other forms, but if you're selling a client a policy and they don't have insurance without living benefits, you're doing a disservice to that client. Because what good is having all this other money in other areas if you can't even pay for it when you get sick?
Yeah, and I want to talk about a few other things. Like, I believe in all these different types of insurance and ways of doing things. So there's a big thing where people say don't do IULs because you should buy term and invest the difference. What's your opinion on that?
My number one question is how many people actually end up investing that difference?
Probably none.
Probably none. And less than one. This isn't an NLG statistic. This is industry. Less than 1% of term policies actually end up paying the death benefit. And when you're 20, 30 years older, if you are insurable, you're never healthier tomorrow than you are today. You need a permanent form of coverage.
Okay. So my thought on that is, yeah, you're probably not going to invest the difference. Dude, we just went to Panera Bread. We got 2 kids, Atlas, and we can't forget AC. We got to run ACs.
Yeah, I'll give her a shout out. Let's go.
So we went to Panera Bread, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, my wife, and me, and the bill was like $85. I'm like, bro, like, how did everything get so expensive?
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you think about life, it's like, you're not going to go, oh, wait, let me go remember to do this.
Correct.
Most people are not going to.
Correct.
Now, I actually do like the buy term, invest the difference because it does work. Like, it does make sense. If you took the money and you invested it and you bought a cheap term insurance policy, then over time, that investment of you investing that money is going to be huge. And you could not need life insurance.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But my thing is like, I do that. I buy term and invest the difference. I have term insurance and I invest the difference. But I also want this.
Sure.
Because you got the living benefits. You got all the other things that you can do. And it won't, like, it probably, unless it's the Armageddon situation, and if it is, you can cash it in earlier, look at it, whatever,
Correct.
if that ever happened.
Correct.
But it probably won't expire. It will probably be there my whole life.
Yep, exactly. And we love term, by the way. National Life Group has an extremely competitive term, both from pricing, it's still non-med, and it even has the living benefits in all 50 states as well. So there's a place for it. The buy term and invest the difference, there is some method to that.
Okay, I've also heard a lot of people go, you should do be your own bank or infinite banking, and it's way better. Now, I ran some illustrations on both because, like Zach was saying, like I was the worst customer ever. Like, bro, I was running everything. Partly because I wanted to understand it better.
Sure.
The thing that I that is a legit product. I like that product, but the death benefit was lower, and part of my planning was the death benefit portion. What's your opinion on that?
Here's the thing. Be your own bank, infinite banking, key person. All those things are more concepts than anything else. You can design an IUL to do anything. This isn't a be your own bank product, but it can achieve that. You just don't have a specific product for it. That's more of a concept than anything else.
So what, because someone sent me a YouTube video and there's people that want attention everywhere. So they just, whatever. But they're like, infinite banking is way better than IULs. Because IULs don't perform what the illustrative rates usually.
We're actually the one of few carriers that publish our historical interest rates inside of our website. There's 730 insurance carriers. I can pull that up in a second, and I'll show you guys. So we're one of the few people that actually do that. Shows that we have nothing to hide. Anytime somebody ever says this is way better than that all the time, I would kind of challenge that. But our rates perform, and they have. And you don't have to take my word for it. Your client statements will show for it as well. I had to log back in, so it'll take a second. So when you go to our website, and then you go to products, and you go to interest rates, I'm not necessarily going to show you guys everything because it takes a little bit of time, but you can look at our life interest rate histories. This will show all the products that National Life Group has. And this isn't, this is what we thought it did, like the illustration system.
This is what it did?
This is exactly what it did. We're one of the very few carriers. Honestly, I know about 6 that actually do this out of the 700-plus insurance carriers.
Sick. So can you click one? I want to see what one says.
I want to click the one that shows the highest, of course, but we're just going to kind of roll the dice and see what happens.
Show me both. Show me the highest and the lowest.
So I'll just go to I'll go to the LSW Flex Life. That's our most common product. I'll go to historical.
And that's the
cap.
one that we're looking at for
that's
my kids,
what we're looking
right?
at. So there are 2 different Flex Lives, but this is the one since 2011. So if you look at this one, and my goodness, I'm glad I clicked this one. Look at the cap rate. Look at the par rate. And this is important because a lot of companies, they can show you an illustration and show you all these caps, but they will touch existing books of business if they have to, and we've never done that.
Okay, so that's a big thing. So basically, I'm going to break this down for everybody the way I understand it, which is a very simple form. An insurance company can have a book of IUL business.
Correct.
And what they can do is they can go change the cost of insurance on everybody, and they can make more money.
Correct.
So that's a way that your non-guaranteed predictions can get all out of whack.
You are way smarter than Zach gives you credit for, man. Yes.
Okay. Now, what you're saying is in 175 years that you've never done that one time.
We've never increased the cost of insurance on existing books of business in 175 years. World wars, depression, stock market crash, Titanic. And look at our caps, for example. So we started out in 2011 with a 13.5 cap. It only went down to 13 after 3 years inside of these products.
That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, that's legit. So National Life Group, I wonder what kind of policies the people that started that had.
It was great. It was fantastic.
Or this was, I mean, That's wild, dude. I'd like to see some historical big policies they did.
Correct. I mean, I have my annual statement, and that's why I liked how you said earlier.
No, I'm talking about like from like the 1920s.
Oh, I'm sure. Well,
You guys should do that. You
Remember,
should run
IUL is fairly new, right? The first
That's
insurance
true, but
product
whole
ever
life.
was whole life. Correct.
And that's
correct.
what the Rockefellers used. And,
Correct.
And,
It was the first form of insurance ever created.
yeah.
Fun fact, life insurance was actually founded in Greece, believe it or not.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, let's go back to AC. So if somebody wanted to go see that, wait, back on that farm, are you saying that year it was a 13% year?
That was the cap at that time. I have to go
Well,
back and look at the rates.
Well, what did it actually do?
Let's look at it right here. So here we go. And I know that this is a lot of numbers, but we'll just digest it, right? So the cap was 13.5, and then this shows you the return on there as well. So this year it did 10.525%.
This was in 2011. It did. Oh, this is good. This shows them all.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So if you got this product in 2011, the first year you would have got 10.25%.
In that strategy, correct.
In that strategy. Now, how do you pick the strategies?
So, with strategies, I always say next year I'll tell you what you should have done today. But
You
the
just
S&P
blend 'em?
500, you can blend them. Yeah,
I always just blended like 25%, 25%, 25%.
that is huge. I wouldn't say never. I don't like having 100% in one strategy because it spreads it out. We have the S&P 500 because everybody knows it, but why not pick one of the indexes just to spread it out?
That's huge.
Yep.
All right. So 2012 is 6.7.
Correct. So I would look at this third column right here, point-to-point cap focus. This is the most common one. And
Okay,
look at
so
the
look at that
returns
one.
all these years.
Well, let's look at the bad ones too.
Let's look at the bad ones too.
So
okay.
point to average, 1.15.
Correct. And then the following 2 out of 3 years, it did double digits. 3 out of the following 4 years, it did double digits.
But I don't see any zeros.
I don't see any zeros on here as well.
So Armageddon technically is not likely to happen. Oh, wait. Is there a zero down there? Yeah, point to point. 2014, there's some zeros.
There is.
But that's just on that indexing strategy.
That's
so
on that specific indexing
if
strategy.
you blended those, because people ask that too, because this is confusing, man. It's like you're a brand new agent. What's an indexing strategy?
Correct. I mean, I compare this stuff to hot dogs. I love a good hot dog, but don't tell me how it's made. I mean, there's no bad index, but that S&P is there for the familiarity, and then we can get creative and invest in other indexes as a company to get a little more creative.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
But as an agent, well, if you want my strategy, I just go, let's blend them.
I do the same thing. So actually, if you go into the illustration system.
Now, when we illustrated Atlas's policy on there, what did we pick?
We just chose the default one. It's the U.S. Pace Setter, and it's really competitive because it's uncapped.
Can we see what it looks like if you blended it?
Absolutely. It's not going to look much different, but let's just go ahead and do 50% here, if that works for you.
Okay.
And then we'll do 50% in the S&P point-to-point.
Okay.
So if we go back, you want me to just go to the quick view screen, show the projections? Yeah. So it really won't change that much. Honestly, the illustration system defaults to the highest rate of projected return, but whenever you're filling out the applications, I like your method of splitting it up.
Okay, so let's say I want to do 7 years. Now, what people got to remember is we're only doing a payment for 7 years.
Correct.
So this is actually pretty legit for only a payment for 7 years.
Yes.
But I have the opportunity in 7 years to go, hey, I'm doing really well financially. I want to keep paying.
Absolutely.
And these numbers would go nuts.
Correct.
Let's look at them if I did $5K every year for 60 years.
I love it. So let's do 1-60 instead of 1-7. You said for 60 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, shoot, I might not be around. I guess someone's going to make the payment.
I mean, the first person to live to age 120 is actually born
in California,
right?
right?
So I think so, yeah.
No, or the second oldest person is in California, I think.
Well, no, the first person to live until age 120, predictability-wise, is already born. All right, so here's your $5,000 for the rest of her life, and this is going to look killer compared to that 7-year payment.
Okay, you might sell me on this right now, but the good news is it's flexible.
Correct, and the name of the product is called Flex Life, believe it or not.
So I can just change it.
Yep.
All right, so if I do this, then Atlas will have this policy.
He will be set.
Okay, so let's say in 32 years, it'll have $450,000 in cash value and $1.1 million
in death benefit.
In
correct.
death benefit.
Yep. Let's
Okay.
fast forward to retirement if you want. Let's look at age 60, 65. So he has $3.3 million of tax-free money.
Now this could be for my grandkids.
This would be for your grandkids. I like how you smile that big every time you talk about grandkids, man.
Okay, I got another question though.
Okay.
Let's say Atlas, because I think you got to be careful with money, right? You don't want to. People have to earn what they have.
Sure.
So let's say I'm the payer.
Mm-hmm.
I can control the cash value.
So the owner has the say in the policy. They make all the contract changes, but the payor also has a say as well. But as far as changing things in the structure, it's the owner's call.
Okay, but can he just go take $3 million?
He couldn't,
if I'm the owner.
He couldn't because you were the owner.
Okay. Now let's say he's awesome and he's like, I'm helping a bunch of people. I want to start this business. I want to start right now he says he wants to be a dinosaur doctor.
Okay.
So let's say he's going to be a veterinarian.
Okay.
I'm like, dude, you could take this money and you can start your company with it.
Absolutely.
I could do that.
You can do whatever you want with the money.
Okay.
You never want to take out the full amount of cash value because then you're going to be taxed.
You pay taxes if you take the full amount. But
Correct.
he can take a loan from it too.
Bingo. My rule of thumb is to not take out more than 90% of your total cash value.
Well, also, it'd be smart. I mean, I would be like, hey, if you're going to start a business and it's got to make money, and you can pay this back, but instead of paying a bank back, it's almost like a home equity line of credit.
Absolutely.
Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
On your
Correct.
You just pull it out, put it back. You could flip a house. You could be like, yo, I'm gonna go flip this house. I'm gonna take 200, buy a house, put another 200 in it, sell it for 7, put the original back. Now I got 300.
Absolutely. The agents that promote be your own bank, that's basically what it boils down to. Correct.
But you could do that here.
Absolutely.
How long does it take to get the money? Let's say I need 50 grand because I want to make an investment and I'm going to pay it back.
We can ACH it, so within 24 hours now.
So you can get it super fast.
Super fast.
And in the next 20 years, it's probably going to be like insanely fast.
Insanely fast.
Like instant.
We might be
like,
able to just think about it and get
Bam.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do AC.
AC.
So AC is March 20th, 2022.
Okay. ACEY, ACY?
ACEY.
Okay, ACEY. Okay. Same thing?
So let's do the same thing.
Okay, I just got to quote
But
you.
female and younger.
Yeah. Right
so you think the numbers will project better?
I know it will. So female live longer than men. So that's why it's better. And then she's 2 years younger in the illustration. So it's going to be better.
When I would go in people's homes, I'd always be like, good news, it's going to be cheaper for your wife because they live longer because they kill us all off. And then they'd always be like, yeah, they do.
It's true, though. So here's the numbers.
All right. So I'm going to put in, this is if I paid $5,000 every single year.
Correct.
Let's go down to like year 60 again.
Year 60. 2.8 million in cash.
And 3.662 million in death benefit.
Correct.
Legit, man. Amazing.
And that's 100% tax-free money. As long as you keep that death benefit in force, the IRS still lets you have it tax-free.
Yeah, they're also lowering the, I don't know if this is true. Do you know anything about this? I've heard this, that they're lowering the amount of, like, if you have a net worth over a certain amount, you have to pay some crazy inheritance tax, right?
Right.
And they're lowering that from like 14 million to something lower to put more people in that category.
I've heard of that. I didn't know they passed the bill yet, but I've heard of that.
Okay. I don't know either, but basically anyone in that situation, they could use this as a tool to offset that, right?
Generally speaking, that's correct.
Yeah. Amazing, dude. I love it. So thank you for sharing. Anything you want to tell?
I just want to leave with thank you for having me, man. You guys are killing it. I love how you treat your agents. I love how smart they are. I love how hungry you guys are. There's nobody like you guys in the industry, and you guys are making huge waves.
Yeah, and you said tell them what we've done, because we just started doing IULs. What are we tracking?
So you're tracking over $40 million this year. But in 2019, when I first came on the account and you were screening all my calls, we did about $100,000.
Was I screening your calls?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Just once. We did about $100,000. Last year in Target, which is commissionable premium, we finished just over $23 million. In 175 years, you guys are the fastest growing agency we've had from recruiting and a production standpoint.
In how many years?
In 175 years.
Cool. Hey, Drew.
Yes.
What do you think about this product?
I think I need to get one.
I'll
Dude.
write you one up. Come on in here.
No, he just got his license.
Oh, nicely done.
You're
Yeah.
gonna write your own right
Yeah.
now, Drew.
Yeah.
Colton, what do you
It's
think?
Crazy.
That's a crazy product.
It's easy. I mean, it's a no. I'm not a good salesperson, but I'm good at no-brainers. Like, if everybody wins. So I used to also have this sales pitch where I'd be like, you'd be sitting there with your wife or whatever, and it would be the return of premium product.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if you die, your wife's going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
If you live, you're going to get $42,000 back. So you're going to get paid. And if you buy this, then I'm going to get paid. And then they'd be like, that makes sense.
That's a win-win-win right there.
But that's what I have to find. I have to find win-win-wins, you know?
Yes, absolutely. The other thing I'd go back to is this still is a fully underwritten product. It's non-med to $2 million, but it's still fully underwritten. So the application is a little bit longer than your traditional comparison, but the commission's higher as you're seeing compared
we
to the
can't
rest.
stop yet. We forgot to go over that.
Correct.
So, well, real quick, May 20th, Drew, we're doing, that's the date, right, Drew? May 20th?
Yes, it could potentially change, but yes.
Okay, so we'll kind of just tease it out there. May 20th, we have a big event coming up in Las Vegas. We're looking at the place you were just at today.
Okay, nice.
Super cool venue.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a program where people can get certified for living benefits.
Correct. The living benefits, they're very powerful, but you want to make sure you sell them correctly. I can't stub my toe at the pool and get a payout. You want to make sure you're educating clients correctly because that's the time in their life where they need them the most.
Not only that, you want to be an expert when you're talking to customers and make sure they know exactly what they're getting.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. But you can get certified. It takes how long?
It depends on who does it, but it'd be a couple hours.
It takes a couple hours.
Andrew wanted to be 5 minutes, but it'd be a little bit longer than that.
No, that was a joke. Okay, so you can get certified and be an expert in living benefits. It takes a couple hours, and we're thinking about adding this the day before the event actually starts to get all these people certified.
Sign me up.
Yeah. But Las Vegas, May 20th, we're going to do a big event. But there's a really, really important thing that we need to get better at. And this isn't just with you guys, but it's just all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's getting business issued.
Correct.
And getting business issued means writing the right business in the first place.
Correct.
Placing the person in the right policy. Funny story. This is freaking July of 2009. I think I'm like 19 years old. I just started selling. Like, I was terrible, dude. Hanging up on customers when they picked up because I would like freeze up. And then I would go to sell a policy and I would show someone who had medical issues something that it was like a Hail Mary to get them approved for. And then they wouldn't get approved and they'd be mad.
Mm-hmm.
So July 2009, I'm running appointments. I write 18 policies that month. And 2 of them got placed. Okay. So, like, dude, I'm going to go out of business because I got paid on 2 policies, but I wrote 18.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one of my mentors at the time was like, yo, you're not helping people because you're folding when they push back on anything instead of going, hey, my job's to get you approved. Let's be realistic. I know you want a Lamborghini, but we got a Honda Civic budget.
Great analogy.
You know?
Yes.
And to be like, my job is to get you approved. And it was funny because I went and I was like, I would be like, isn't something better than nothing? And then the first time I did that, this guy, he had like all these rocks in his house.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, when I'm hiking in the middle of the desert, you can't have, if you're running out of water, you can't drink the little bit of water you have because you'll just want more and you'll go crazy. And I was like, oh, that didn't work. That analogy didn't work, you know?
Yeah.
But getting stuff issued is helping people.
Absolutely.
So if I go show someone who doesn't qualify for an IUL and I write an application and they get declined and I don't ask all the questions and I don't do the underwriting, then 2 things are going to happen. I'm not going to get paid, but they're going to be pissed when you go back and show them a final expense policy because they thought they were going to get some crazy IUL, which they wouldn't qualify for.
Correct. You wasted everybody's time. Yours, the clients, the companies.
And you wasted resources for the insurance company.
Correct. And that's the biggest thing. It actually works in your favor to disclose things. It's 2024. We got pretty good resources. So take your time on those applications. I actually challenge agents. If you fill out an insurance application with us and every health question was no, I would actually pause and ask the client, are you sure there's no meds? Are you sure there's nothing going on? It works in your favor to disclose it.
Yeah. So there's some tools, but just don't throw everybody in.
Correct.
Check the underwriting guide. You could look up the underwriting guide right on here, right?
You can literally go from here. And here's the thing. We've been around for 175 years. We want to be around for another 175 years. We like good quality business. So if you click this underwriting guidelines in the illustration, it'll actually pop up with 40 plus pages of information.
Okay. So let's say I have high blood pressure.
So
is that going to be in here?
You can hit Control F and hit high blood pressure. It'll say no rating, assuming that it's well controlled.
So that means standard?
Standard or better.
Standard
if you're
or better.
not on a high blood pressure medication, you're 60s, sometimes that's a concern. So that has no impact.
Heart valve replacement, table 4 to decline. So it just depends.
Correct. And here's the thing. Underwriting is a case-by-case scenario. I could have a heart valve replacement and be really healthy and be table 4, or I could be diabetic, 500 pounds, and have a heart valve replacement. So this is just one piece of the pie.
And then the more things you have, basically, the worse the rating goes to a decline. So if you're comboing these things, then that's when it can get a little different, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. But dude, this is huge. Like, just print this out.
Correct. You guys are going to work evenings, Saturdays. There's going to be times where your uplines aren't there, the company's closed. I would not try to call underwriters all the time. This has 95% plus of the information you need to know.
Well, we're going to start training on Integrity's Life Center, which just released.
Okay.
And right now they have final expense products in there, but you can just type in whatever it is and it runs it automatically through every carrier and will tell you what, where to place them.
That is amazing.
Dude, it is so insane.
We actually have something similar in our website. That's game changing. But right here, if you go to underwriting quotes, if you go through this, it'll go through all the questions that you have. It won't log me in because I'm an agent.
So it's like a pre-application.
It's a pre-approval. It doesn't guarantee it, but if you plug everything in here, it'll spit out what rate class they are or if they are insurable.
Now, if you're doing a big case, you don't want to risk going, hey, you had a heart stent last year. Let's look at preferred. Like,
I would always quote standard. It's better to go back with good news instead of bad news. And people think that in the illustration system, if we quote standard, and I'm actually going to change the age of AC just to show this example. If you quote standard, but AC is preferred or elite, we will go ahead and give you that rate class even though you submitted it as standard. The best practice is submit them as standard, under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, that's good. I also want to bring up this. The parent has to have coverage to get a kid coverage.
Sometimes. So here's our guidelines at the company. In any scenario whatsoever, the child can either pay $100 a month or you can pay $100 a month for your child, or they can have $100,000 in death benefit.
Okay, so you don't have to have coverage.
No, if your child wants more than that, like let's say that you have $500,000 on your life, AC could get $500,000 on her life.
So if AC and Atlas are bad kids, then like when I'm like 70, I'm going to have like $7 million to blow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get it.
That's great. But if I'm talking to a customer, I'm going to be like, hey, you, let's get this for your kids, but what do we have for you? And open the door. So that's a lead from the original, hey, most people do anything for their kids. Look at Disneyland. Let's set them up, and then go back around to, we have to set you up too.
Correct. You should always make sure both of them or everybody in that picture has it.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Persistency. So persistency is huge.
Mm-hmm.
People don't cancel these as easily as or as often as they cancel term or final expense. Is that an accurate statement?
That's accurate, yes. And I'm going to brag on you guys. Your guys' persistency being so new is actually very healthy.
Good. But as an agent, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And I used to think it's, hey, how much premium can I do? But then when you have business falling off, and the things that I learned over time, it took a long time, was you write products like this, and then you also help multiple people in the house. You help them with multiple products, and then you keep them for life.
Absolutely.
Instead of what's common now, which is what I call a hit and run agent. It just means you hit them and they never hear from you again. You get your check and you're gone. On to the next person, you know?
Yes.
Cool, man. I think we hit a bunch of stuff. If we'll probably have you in Las Vegas with us,
Sure, I'm there.
and looking forward to working with you guys and growing. And dude, I'm really excited about this, man. Like, I think that as agents, we can help a ton of people structuring these the right way.
Mm-hmm.
How can somebody structure it bad? Let's talk about that. Because before we go, there's some horror stories of like an IUL that just implodes and the person had no idea what the heck was going to happen.
Here's the thing. The only time that you can structure an IUL bad is one of two things. One, if you structure it with a really high death benefit and it's going to lapse. The other thing is if you don't sell it with National Life Group. Those are the only two bad things. But all jokes aside, the only way that you can really structure it bad, generally speaking, is if you do a high death benefit. So let's look
high
at this.
death benefit makes a higher commission, right?
Bingo. So your target premium is what you're calculated off of. So the annual premium the client pays doesn't necessarily mean that's what your commission is.
Right.
If anything, it's less. So this client's paying $300 a month. I'm going to change it to monthly. So that's $3,600 a year. That means my target premium goes to about $2,400. If we look at the quick view screen of the illustration, you'll see that it goes until maturity. Let's say that the agent is looking at this and saying, you know what, I really want a higher target premium. So what I could do and what I could design is I'll design a policy. And instead of it being $200,000, let's make it like $1 million, for example, and see what happens. So if I go here, it makes my target premium $11,000. But if I go to my quick view screen, it's going to lapse in 30 years. So in this scenario,
that's on the good projection.
That's on the good projection. So honestly, some people do this. So instead of having a term policy, you can build some cash value. I would not design an IUL illustration to lapse. So as far as designing it bad, this would be a proposal where if I see target much higher than the premium the client's paying, that's kind of a red flag.
So basically, if you can structure it two different ways. One of them is for death benefit and low cash value, right?
Yes.
And the other one is for high cash value, low death benefit.
If there's a way to summarize two ways to set it up, that's correct.
Okay. So in this scenario, people are setting them up where the death benefit's so high and the payment isn't high enough, so the cash value runs out really early.
Exactly correct. Which, by the way, I mean, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So if I'm running this proposal, right, we have a female age 40. If I do minimum death benefit max cash, her death benefit's $217,000. She could be a 40-year-old that's killing it with no kids and wants money for retirement, or she could have zero insurance and has 5 children. So one thing I could do is she could say, look, I like that, but my house is worth $300,000. So I can actually specify $300,000, go to my quick view screen, and even though even though I designed this higher than minimum death benefit max cash, the policy still doesn't lapse. It's just that I'm not getting as much cash value. But for her, if she has 5 kids and a house worth $300,000, this is actually an okay policy for her. So it's not a one size fits all, and it just depends on your client. It's always a case by case scenario.
So there are scenarios when to do it, but the people that get blindsided, they're just kind of sold some. Now, what about other carriers? Like, if they're not hitting their projected rates that they're telling people, what happens then?
The policies lapse. And what you just asked is the reason why National Life Group is #1 in IUL sales. We actually do what we say we're going to do. We're all about keeping our promises.
I'm just kidding. You got to answer that. I'd like to see some reports on that, though. Like, who hit what they're projecting.
Sometimes it's hard to see that unless you got statements, because a lot of the companies, as we just discovered, less than 5% actually show the interest rates inside of their website. So you wouldn't be able to tell until your clients get those annual statements. That's why it's so important that you are the carrier that actually will follow through on what they do.
Legit. All right, bro. Looking forward to a big year with you guys. And you said like we double, we'll be #1 with National Life Group, roughly?
If you keep doubling, eventually you will be.
Bro, please. It's gonna happen so fast.
Oh, I'm ready for it. We're ready for it.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.